Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV podcast 549. Almost at that magic 550.
The magic 550, huh?
Said no one ever.
No.
550 is not significant in any way.
Maybe if you're coming down from 600 pounds.
That would be a milestone.
I mean, that's
fair.
That's a start.
So it would 549, though, where we're at right now. So that also would be a good...
Sorry about that. My mic was probably a little hot. I got to join a different podcast last night.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Who took you in? Dare I ask?
Some wonderful, wonderful gentlemen over on the East Coast. They've got a little podcast that they talk about. They've got a fantasy league and some other things that they got going on. And so they had me on last night and talk about a long podcast. Ours doesn't hold a candle. I think are
they still going right
now? They might still be going.
20 some hours later?
They had like I would say probably we started at 6:30. I think it was 8:30 before we got to the second half of the show, where then we did like a quiz, which is honestly it was a really fun idea.
Okay.
It was just disc or no. It was disc or no disc, where he asked you a question, and this is Pat Keenan out of. I don't want to screw up the name of the podcast only because it's a bunch of initials. So hold on, I'm going to bring this up. I just don't want to. I don't want to.
They're paying for this advertisement too, right?
Yeah, they totally are. It's the HVDGP. So
okay, yes,
the HVDGP podcast, and they've got a skip-based league and everything. And so they joined. So they asked me to join, and we talked about my how Smashbox came to be and my intros to disc golf and a couple other things. But finally, we get to this quiz, and like I said, he asks a question, just a general question. Like one of the questions was astrologists and astronomers both refer to this. It's the Greek word for a circular or for a round group of small animals.
Of small animals?
Yeah.
Party.
Zodiac.
Oh.
And then you get bonus points. Disc or no disc? Is that a disc?
Is Zodiac a disc?
Yeah.
I feel like...
and do you know how many times the words were said, well, that sounds like it could be a good name for a disc.
I don't want to just say 5 years ago, I would have clearly known because we had less discs. That's obvious. 5 years ago, we had so many less companies that, well, let me rephrase that. I knew almost every disc on the market. And now, just from simply not vending as much as I used to, that's why I feel like I wouldn't know the answers like I used to. Obviously, there's been an influx in so many more manufacturers and then, therefore, brands. However, specifically Zodiac, I don't feel like I've seen that as the name of a disc.
I haven't either.
But,
and I don't believe it was.
Oh, I was going to say, but I wouldn't be surprised if it
No,
is.
exactly. And I will say this. So the quiz, it felt like, and I know I'm clearly covering my own ass here. I was paired up with another gentleman named Randy. He carried the team. Because it felt like every time the question came to us, I didn't know the answer, but I knew half the other answers for the other questions. So I feel like Randy really carried our team for this. I did feel like I was good with the disc, no disc part. There was some of them that he was rattling off that were just approved in March, just this month.
I mean, there's no way we would really...
The ingot.
Sure.
Which is a term for, I believe, like when you... like a liquid metal of some sort, like a gold. Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. And then there's the bullion and all sorts of things. So anyway, so we had this long quiz afterwards, and it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed myself quite a bit. It was a really fun thing. So shout out to those guys for having me on. Well worth my time.
One of these days, we could get back into having some semblance of some segments here. And I think, obviously, I don't want to copy that one exactly. Sounds very smart.
It is.
But I think something along those lines, in that same vein would be smart and something that we could continue to dive into every single week. But good.
Yeah.
We'll love it.
And apparently they've been doing this for about 3 years.
Okay.
Every week almost. They haven't repeated a disc yet, is what they... And some of them were a little bit easier. The question was hard, but once you knew the disc, like there was one that was the groove. the Verdict, the Getaway.
Sure.
Like those were like, oh yeah, I know those discs. The Sonic was one. The Sonic is the one I had to bite my tongue at because the question was a Doctor Who question about his screwdriver, and I was just like, I want to chime in, and
there's no stealing.
There was no stealing. If you didn't answer, it went to the next team, and if they couldn't answer, it went to the next team. And of course, that was not our question, so I couldn't even get that one, even though I knew.
They should just ask you all the questions you know.
I know. I don't understand.
Where's the pre-screening like we do?
So yeah, a lot of fun. Maybe someday we'll have some segments or something, or we'll do another quiz night or something. So we did not. I don't think we came in third. I think we came in second.
Okay. All right. Well, very cool. That kind of leads segues unintentionally right into one of the questions.
Segway is not a disc.
Okay, I believe that. That segues right into a comment that I've now seen twice, and I occasionally pluck and randomly, of course, look at and even sometimes dive into a few of the different discussion boards, and there's a million of them, and
I'm
so
sorry.
I clearly don't get into all of them, but one of them, I feel like that was repeated in the last few days. Maybe it was the same person once being anonymous.
Yeah, different places, yeah.
One of them is there, in fact, too much content before tournaments now these days?
I mean, yes. No, not too much. There's a lot, but you get to pick and choose the type of content you want. Like,
good problem to have.
It is. And I mean, it is a good problem for the viewer. It might not necessarily be a good problem for the content creators.
Yes.
Ezra and Goose doing their practice rounds, the practice rounds guys, is that what they call it?
Joe Mez.
Joe Mez,
those guys have a practice round.
That's what it's officially called, the practice round. The Joe Mez practice rounds. There is Ricky does his.
Ricky's now doing them much more frequently.
And Simon always does vlogs before events. Like, there's a lot of content to consume. You got to be picky, apparently, now. I'm sure any one of them would not mind if two people fell off the planet and stopped doing, because it would just probably put more eyeballs on theirs. But you know what? If they want to put this stuff out, man, there's an audience.
Again, it's then up to the creator at this point. Even if the market has become somewhat saturated, it's up to them to find something that's different or unique or whatever to somehow break through all that noise, so to speak. I am unfamiliar with what Joey Buckets is doing, besides changing his name officially on the PDGA page to Joey Buckets.
Good for him.
He came out with something, and I, again, saw praise saying that whatever he did was new. This is not maybe a huge surprise that Johnny nor I necessarily consume a lot of this pre-event or post-event content.
Barely
but
any of it.
That's not to be dismissive of it. It's just we don't happen to consume too much of it. Occasionally, if I have to peek around and look for something specific, I possibly will. But so I'm not familiar with what exactly Anderson did, with what Joey Buckets did, but somebody immediately had a compliment for him saying that whatever he's doing is slightly different, some kind of bucket challenge or something like that, which sounds good. And we talked about this last week, yes, that Ace Run Productions, at least at the Go Throw events, we know that they're doing an Ace Run challenge. Obviously, OTB Skins has fit into this overall scope, along with a lot of the event preview and course preview stuff. There's on the women's side, there's a number of women. Luque has, I know, put together some vlogs in the past with Annika and Sten, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of combos and people out there now doing stuff. So, good problem to have.
You and I should just do something, and it's just us getting in everybody else's video. Like, I'll film, you'll film, and it's just us running into, like, videos. Like, hey, check out our video! I mean, we don't see Thomas Gilbert on the tour nearly as much, so he's not in every video. It's very difficult, so someone's got to fill that position.
That's a good point. And we are seeing this, again, thanks, Doc. This does point to something else that's clearly become more popular that I was talking about way back in December, because a couple of golfers, namely Double G, was hot and heavy on it. The whatnots are popping up more and more frequently as well. Those I do want to go look, because I know I'm going to eventually do some. I want to see how well they're going. And what I mean by that is, from the perspective of selling valuable things, it didn't seem like that was in the seller's favor much. Now, it's going to depend on who the person is, how many people they have watching, their overall return, and then I should say, their return to whatnot, and then what they're continuing to build for their community. But the few that I have watched, I feel like some of the sellers are taking a bath. And if it's just a matter of you don't care, you just want to get rid of it, and you almost don't even care what the pricing is, or you're okay with everything going relatively cheap, then so be it. But some of the math and economics, and I'm not saying you're going to get top dollar. This isn't just had it on the tip of my tongue. What's the big Sotheby's? What's the big auction? Sotheby's? What am I thinking? The huge auction house that sells like multi-million-dollar Christie's. Thank you. Okay. And I think there's another one, but anyway,
where was that question? No, the Christie's isn't a disc either.
Christine Jennings had some custom stamps. That doesn't count.
She did, but she's not. Yeah.
Okay.
Christy King.
So yeah, those have not have continued to grow, which is pretty cool. Yes, Doc. At one point, you will see one from me. He's saying that Ricky did one tonight, and he also says, "I like how Discount Disc Golf does theirs. I'll have to go look into it." And he says Ricky's were not going cheap. Again, if you have a bigger following, you're a bigger name. Clearly, you're probably going to generally command a little bit more, or you're going to garner a little bit more attention and therefore pricing on them. But a few that I have seen, I'm like, oh my god!
I guess again,
to know you paid $10 for a disc, like you paid for it brand new at $10, and then you just got done selling it for $6 or $4. Like there should be nothing exciting about losing money on a brand new disc, but. All right, it's good for the buyers, and there's a lot more of those than there are sellers, so I guess that works out. Sotheby's is a realty company.
Realty,
yeah, which is such a dumb word. That's a whole nother story. Company and auction house. Okay, yeah. So I wasn't. Totally
so you were right. It wasn't necessarily the one you were thinking, but I'm sure it. Okay, it's good.
All right, so a little housekeeping is I had reached out to Adam Hammis in amongst probably an insane amount of others in the last couple of days. I did reach out to him yesterday. I know he has some things going on, and we basically kind of left an open invite. He said he would like to join us. I have sent him the information and said that he could jump on and join us at any point after we've started here at 8 o'clock. So it may just be a surprise to us as well. Whenever he's ready to go and hops on, we'll bring him in.
Which is good, because there's something I want to talk about, but not talk about with him real quick.
Oh, ouch. Okay.
And this is just really quick. Shut up about the OB on round 2. Everybody.
Okay.
You don't have the angle they have. He didn't make the call. 2 guys on his card made the call, according to him, before he even mentioned anything. Right there, that's 2 out of 4. And if the other 2, including himself for some reason, were to go against that, then the benefit of the doubt goes to the player.
Benefit of the player.
Benefit goes to the player. Benefit goes to the player, not benefit of the doubt. Yeah, benefit goes to the player if it's a tie. But because 2 of them already had voted, it doesn't matter. And again, the more important part, not so much that the call was made, is that we don't have the angle they have. The camera angle that we see is not perfectly up and down. And even if it was,
still is tough.
It still is tough. So honestly, I hate that it's out there. I hate that people are talking about it. We've seen this, and we'll see it every year. That I saw people complaining like, oh, they should have just made the water the OB. God, we've seen that before. Yeah, look at hole 16 at DDO, because I think it was Drew Gibson one year that was sitting and arguing about his disc on some rocks that was leaning up, but there might have been some water and some, like, it just never ends. Like, even if you have a string, guess what happens sometimes? I've seen the disc push the string. There is no perfect solution. There's just
lasers.
Not. Even lasers, man. Like
GPS.
Yeah. I mean, even because in theory, even a string could be, you could be right on the edge that, and it, depending if the string is close to the ground, higher up to the ground. I just, there's not a perfect solution. Yes, painted grass, you have issues with some of the blades of grass don't get fully painted, just the tops do. So when they bend over, it looks green. I don't care.
Yeah, I will. What I'll say to that is, it feels as if the number one solution and response, from what I gathered from a lot of people, is string. And I will just tell you,
it's great.
String can have a dozen issues with it as well. There's been plenty of years. The USDGC has been going on for 25 years, and we've had 25 years of calls that maybe never get seen because they're not on a recorded card, but there's been 25 years of calls that probably could go either way.
So how do you put that string down, Terry?
Well,
do you use stakes? So that sounds like a great idea. Some stakes right in front of the water
until you hit the stakes.
Where your disc could hit the stake and roll back in bounds.
Yeah. Or until someone trips on that string, literally the group before them, like this chase card or whomever, the third card in this case, trips on the string, and then all of a sudden it becomes a little bit loose in that one spot. And then you say, well, you could inlay it in the ground, which we have seen kind of, for lack of a better term, trenching, I guess, could be a word, where sometimes it can get inlaid. At some point, even if it's inlaid and your disc is laying over it, it's hard to see then, because what angle am I taking? Like, that could change depending on how do you. There's no perfect solution. There's good solutions. There's worse solutions. There's better solutions. There's not a perfect solution. I feel like a lot of this is obviously because he won against Simon as well, like the most beloved player in our game. Like, people are just kind of like, well, Simon didn't get a chance because, the call. Like, just get over it. Hamas won. There's a dozen calls like this every single week that we don't see, and it should not affect his win in any manner. I'm open to hearing what would be, I'm going to call it perfect in air quotes, perfect yet practical. And I think that yet practical part is another key component, because something that's impractical that we've already seen and posted about for years is, well, that's why we need an official on every card. We need 3 officials. We need 19, whatever. We need 39 officials, whatever. Like, I'm not saying there's not solutions. However, they have to be also practical
and fair. I mean, because having an official just on the top card, Hamas wasn't top card round 2. Having him on the top 3 cards, cool. What happens when Simon makes a run from the 4th card and bolts his way up the leaderboard? Because we saw Ricky do it.
He cheated the whole way to get to that.
Probably. So, all right, let's talk about some Waco results. I just wanted to kind of get that off my chest.
I don't know. So should I erase my asterisk next to Adam's name or not?
Put an asterisk on the other side for your asterisk, so to reference his asterisk. Let's talk about FPO. Kristen Lott. She dominated. Honestly, she just crushed the field. There was like a slight thought early in round 3 that there's maybe a chance. Like, Henna kind of was pushing a little bit. Holland Hanley just couldn't get it together in the beginning of the round. She did really well at the end of the final round. Kristen came in. She did what she did. She shot, I think, her highest average rating or something.
I believe it was. 1,009, 1,010, something like that.
I will say,
for the weekend.
She won by 7, but that last round, it looked like she was making some really simple mistakes. A couple approaches, forehand flicks that she threw right into a tree in front of her. 2 of them that I saw for sure. That, she left the door wide enough open where it kind of kept it interesting for a little while. And then it got to be about she took the bogey on hole 13, but even then, at that point, it really kind of felt like it was over, even by then. So, congratulations to Kristen. She played a great tournament. And it looked, no, I'll take that back. I think she played a good tournament. I saw a lot of mistakes. She had some bad circle 1 putts, and she made some really simple mistakes that I don't normally see her make. I don't think this was a great tournament, regardless of what the round ratings show. But I think she's got room for improvement, which is scary for the rest of the field.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I was going to go with all of that thought is, whether someone would call her rusty or just a little bit off, the fact that she plays this good, even with a handful of mistakes that you can point out, it's not a matter of picking on her or giving her a hard time. It's a matter of saying, like, when we see the bar that she's raised her and elevated her in her game to, then you see some mistakes, like you said, that seem uncharacteristic or just easy fixes. Yeah, it's pretty incredible to know that she can score that well, perform that consistently throughout the 3 days, walk home with a 7-stroke margin of victory, which matches what she did last year in terms of taking this down. It was 7 strokes last year over the 4 rounds. And, she's back. And
just wait till we have Kristen Lott and Kristen Tatar trying to fight it out.
Then
we'll have some real championship caliber playing. Second place, Holland Hanley, who, like I said, finished 7 strokes worse than Kristen Lott. And the Blomroos, third place. Just and again, I don't want to harp on it, a poor putting performance. She could have kept up with Kristen pretty easily had she just made a few simple putts. She had a lot of 2 putts, and then she had a 5 putt at one point, I think in round 2. It was, you could see that the confidence, it never really came, but it went a few times. Like, it never felt like she walked up confidently, but there were times that was better than other. She parked so many holes. I mean, she had so many birdies for not being able to putt very well that, again, I know we said this about Evelina for a couple of years, and Henna, of course, but when she finally does get it down, and I truly feel like she will, she's very young. She's got a lot of time to figure this out. She's gonna be so dangerous, and it's going to come on like a tidal wave. Fourth place, Missy Gannon, shooting 12 under par, tied with Ella Hansen. Sixth place, Owen Scoggins moves up the board with a 7 under par. Jessica Weiss, who was playing really well all weekend, and then the final round came, and it looked like she had some sort of injury with like a back injury. She was throwing a little bit and then holding her back as she was walking. It just she just couldn't keep up. And unfortunately, I don't know if it was completely the injury or just maybe just poor play. I mean, sometimes you can just chalk it up to poor play. She shot an even that final round when everyone else around her was at least 3 under. So, she wasn't. Again, no one was catching Kristen practically the way she was playing. And then 8th place, Rebecca Cox shooting a course record. 11 under par final round to get to 9 under par, might I add. She was over par the first 2 rounds, which not surprising because it was so windy those first 2 rounds. It was brutal out there. And Rebecca, maybe her game doesn't suit well for the wind the way she plays, but she came back on a tear and shot an 11 under, I think it was 1037 rated round or something, I believe.
It is now her new current highest rated round.
1035.
And that's surpassing what I think she did just a few weeks ago at another event. So if trending is still a phrase that we use, is trending still trending?
Trending still trending.
She's trending, then her trends are trending in the right direction.
Yeah, that's great. She after a really good year last year, she came back this year and is continuing it. We'll round up the top 10. Madison Walker has a really solid finish, bogey-free final round to get to 8 under. And Hannah Wynn and Cadence Burge, top 10. Oh, I'm sorry, and Kat Murch, 3-way tie for top 10 between those 3. And Cadence continuing a good start to the season. We talked about her SFO taking top 10. We talked about her winning the Mobile Championships. And then now she's taking top 10 here. So just another one of those players that we're going to have to look out for in that top 10, it feels like.
I don't have these stats because I just thought of it, but
I'm sure I have them.
We don't see a lot of double-digit under par rounds in the FPO field. Does that sound like an accurate statement?
I would say that sounds like a pretty accurate statement. There's a few courses, but not many. Obviously, this course has double digits on occasion, as we see with an 11 under. There's been a few 10 unders, I believe. I'm trying to think of.
Yeah, I just in general don't think it's that common, and it's all relative to the course and the experience and the weather. I understand all of that, but just in general, to see an 11 under, a bogey-free 11 under that comes from Rebecca. Obviously, the scoring conditions were way better during this final round for everybody. Yes. I get that. That's irrelevant. Just the idea of seeing double-digit under par rounds. I don't have access to the brains that stat man off the top of my head. I just can't imagine that they're all that common. And I know they happen, but they're not that common. Yeah. It's a lot of birdies.
It is. Does that mean that you feel like Waco is appropriately distanced for an FPO player?
I'm good with it.
I am too.
You're playing good golf on a course where you can also bogey every hole, but instead you're playing it clean. I've got no problem with that.
Do you feel like over the last 10 years, or how long has Waco been on the tour? 8 years? Was it on the first year? I don't think it was.
No, it probably came on the second year if I had to guess.
Second or third year. So let's just say the last 8 or 9 years, the Waco's reputation, do you feel like it's shifted? Because I feel like a couple years ago, Waco wasn't a loved course. And I feel like now a lot of people love Waco. Like, it feels like it's just really growing in appreciation.
I don't know that it wasn't loved. I think a lot of players could easily dismiss it and thought maybe it was too short.
And not just players, I'm talking fans as well. But.
This goes with a lot of things that are on extreme, on the ends, low or high end, doesn't matter. I say this about a lot of things. Some course has to be the shortest. Some course on our tour has to be the longest. So the fact that this is it, again, we have 10 or 15 or 20 or 50 stops, whatever the case is, some course is going to be the shortest. This happens to be the one. Mm-hmm. I'm okay with pointing it out that it is the shortest, but I don't think that necessarily is a negative. Because again, some damn course somewhere.
What's the next shortest course? Do we know?
You're asking a lot of questions like we have some kind of smart research people.
I'm just trying to think. I'm rattling through the courses in my head and like, what's the next shortest course? Would it be SFO? Or the Olympus?
No, not on the women's side.
Oh yeah. I guess I didn't think about women's, but
no. And there's probably somewhere in.
I'm just thinking like, is Waco? Someone has to be the shortest, but you could also be an outlier. Like if everything is 10 to 12,000 and you're the 7,000 foot course, sure, then it's weird. If you're the 7,800 foot course, the next closest one is 8,500 and up, then you're not really out of the realm of distance. But I will say I love Waco as an event, as a course for both fields. I think, like you said, you can birdie and bogey every hole out there practically. Mm-hmm. It produces exciting results. I wish we had another Waco-style course later in the season, kind of one in the beginning and one near the end, where it's literally a race to the finish, and that's what this feels like. Maple Hill kind of is that a little bit. Like I feel like there's always a few people in contention at Maple Hill, and it's coming down to hole 16, 17, 18. But I mean, Fox Run. I'm just trying to think.
I was going to say not Fox Run.
Or Brewster.
Brewster.
Yeah,
is probably the second shortest. And what do you know? I do have some research if I dig around. Looking at a few things, this is maybe some data from a year-ish ago. Shortest course, 7807, that I'm guessing is, we're talking, okay, sorry. Lake Waco last year, so that's not as relevant, was the 7th longest course on the tour at 10,000. So longest courses on tour, these are stats from a couple years ago, and so some of these have slightly changed. But on the MPO side, OTB, Swenson Park, mm-hmm, coming in at 11,388. This was 2 years ago. Glendevere East, which we're not fully necessarily using, is just 100 feet shy of that. Emporia Country Club, now Champions Landing, is only 20 feet shorter than Glendevere. Preserve is 11,000, which is crazy because Preserve, as we know,
is a birdie. It feels like a birdie or die course.
If you're not shooting 14s, 15s, like you're not contending. Yeah. So Preserve is actually long, but obviously we know that it's relatively open. And even the 1 or 2 par 5s are a little bit on the softer side. Mm-hmm. D-Glow comes in at 11, just a little shorter at 11,000. Glendevere East, or excuse me, West. Let's scroll down. Brazos is the shortest, and then Brewster Ridge.
Okay, Bruce. It is Brewster.
This is 2023. Brewster Ridge was second shortest. So Waco was 7,800 feet. This is for FPO a couple years ago, and there's only a little change. Waco was 7,800 feet as the shortest. Brewster was the second shortest at 8,300 feet. So about 500 feet of difference.
Not too far off.
And And then Millennium course at the Las Vegas Challenge from 23 was 8,600 feet. So those are all on the shorter side.
But obviously Millennium's gone now for the tour. So
for our tour.
Yeah, either way, I really like having this type of course. I'd love to have another one later in the season.
Yeah, I mean,
we have Brewster,
and we also have Wooded in typically playing something like Northwood. However, that's obviously not short. That is the exact opposite in that it's much longer in Wooded.
But that's why I don't feel like that particular course fits this style, because it's not a birdie or die course.
Correct.
And again, Preserve, maybe Preserve is that other option for me. It's not as wooded, but it is a birdie or die. It's a race course. It's a course where you're going to probably maybe have a playoff, or someone's going to have to come down to hole 18 and get an eagle on it to win. I'll give you Preserve on that one, even though it's not a short course.
Sometimes, if they're hot, Idlewild can feel that way sometimes as well, in being a little bit wooded. It's usually right in the middle of the season. So, anyway, I'm good with it.
Me too. It's a good course. It's a fun course.
Like you said, the results continue to be exciting. And at one point, it was offering up one of the biggest variety of winners on the tour at one point.
Technically, I guess maybe still is. Yeah. And that's the other thing that I've heard people say is that Waco's flaky. I don't believe that at all. Because the variety of winners, this particular course doesn't necessarily.
You mean fluky instead of flaky?
Both, either one. As far as the winners go,
I've been called both. So
just before the podcast started, practically. I think this course challenges a specific set of skills. This is a much more mental course. This is a course I feel like you need to really have a flex hyzer forehand. Like if this was lefties can do it, but honestly, having that flex forehand, I do believe saves you 3 or 4 strokes out on this course. And which is why you don't see someone like I'll say like a Gossage dominate. Because Gossage is great forehand and backhand, but you really never see him pull off flex shots like that. It's always a power forehand. And it's kind of he needs to go right, he throws a forehand. He needs to go left, he throws left. Adam Hammes has a very good touch forehand. He's got a good flex forehand. He grew up in the woods of Northwoods, and maybe that's one of the reasons. And he's come close a few times on this event. So I feel like this course particularly caters to someone who has a forehand and a backhand that can really touch with them. Paul McBeth. I think the outlier over on MPO, which we'll talk about here in a second, was Kelvin Heimberg, who doesn't really right now have a forehand. And he showed it on the hole 17 when he pulled it out, and unfortunately it went south for him. But hopefully we'll have him on a little later. It's Adam Hammes taking first place by a single stroke. What an exciting finish to know that you have to birdie hole 18 to win. You're on. I mean, he was on 17, and he didn't need to birdie it. He needed to birdie it to win, but he didn't need to birdie it in order to go to a playoff and continue. And he still pulls off this phenomenal birdie on 17, barely making the ground. There couldn't have been more than 8 inches between his disc and the ground when it skipped up, hit the koozie, and stopped. That could have just as easily hit the koozie and rolled back in the water.
How many complaints have we seen throughout the years of it popping up, hitting that, or some version of it, and there's been different solutions underneath the basket. I get it, but even popping up, hitting the actual koozie itself, and then still and then squirrely and then rolling away or rolling back into the water.
We've seen some crazy putts get up and slow roll. I think it was Kale a few years ago that might have been the slowest roll into the water maybe I've ever seen. I think it was Kale. But just that particular shot was epic as far as the need. And then to know that, okay, all I have to do is get a par here to at least have a playoff, but I'm going to birdie it. Putting himself outside the circle, it was very reminiscent of Kristen Tatar 2 years ago. Almost the same distance, just jamming that putt for the win. And he knew it. There was no point in laying that up, I feel. Like giving Simon a chance. I don't remember what the playoff holes were going to be, if it was 17 and 18 again, or if they were like It doesn't matter. But your best bet is to not give Simon a chance. And so he hit that basket. He hit those chains on the right-hand side, which was the safer side to hit them on. And then hopefully we could get a chance to talk to him about it, because you hit him on the left side and you don't stick in, you could roll in the water.
Yeah.
If you don't draw metal, you can roll in the water. Granted, his skill level from 38 or 40 feet, whatever it was, he was probably hitting some sort of metal on that, but which could have been worse. You hit metal, you roll in the water. Either way, drained a phenomenal putt on 18 to seal it. It was a really good moment. It's just funny, we don't see a lot of putts that are hit for wins that then you have to watch other people putt out.
Yeah.
And it's just, it feels like there's always almost a stroke or two that people have to give. And had he another stroke, he would have definitely laid that up. And everyone would have putted out. But he got to jam it, walk away, and then we still had to watch other people putt out, which is always kind of deflating.
Yeah, well.
I mean, it is what it is, man. I'm sure he's glad he hit it. So Adam Hammes wins this by a single stroke over Simon Lizotte, who shoots a 12 under par from the second card, moving up 3 spots. Simon had some phenomenal shots. He had and again, this kind of goes along with the Adam Hammes OB line thing. Simon had one of the most legit spit outs I've ever seen on those Prodigy baskets, which we've seen in the past.
You talking about the one on 6?
Yeah,
the one that had the pyramid on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there too. I mean, I saw it, and I know there was a lot of conversation about it, and I'd have to see it more to really feel that way. But I know that was very much a part of the conversation.
Yeah,
Again, I'd have to see it again.
There are probably 50 people this weekend that had some sort of close call when it comes to a basket.
For sure.
And so I don't filter that into the equation of who wins, who loses. Simon will tell you himself probably that he'll get the benefit of the doubt sometimes as well when it comes to calls and baskets that catch discs that shouldn't. Just, it happens. That time, it didn't. So Simon Lizotte takes second place. Nicola Castro, talk about horses for courses. This guy always plays well here. He's another one that has those flex shots. And that's his backhand all day long, is playing those flex shots. But he also has that forehand flex working for him.
And then when he needs it, he has a lefty.
That's true. If he ever needs it, he's got a lefty.
Come on.
I didn't even think about that.
Just the confidence in busting that out on hole 17 for back-to-back drives, so to speak, the tee shot and then the second shot, I think is awesome. Maybe you're did he throw it on 16 as well once, or maybe I'm thinking of somewhere else.
Know.
Maybe that was the only place he threw it. It doesn't matter. There's a handful of places you throw it and you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. Look at him, playing around with some stuff. But
17
but you're not playing around on 17, especially the approach shot. And so the fact that he was trusting in it to then use it for his approach, I think is just incredible. So
show some confidence.
Hats off to Nico on that. And yes, of course, Nico, the showman in being able to pull that off, and then ultimately propelling himself into a tie for third.
Yeah.
He's one of the guys that will, often post and say, I was just that close, or it's getting harder and harder to win. And we see that by so many players on Monday morning. And this is one of those fitting scenarios where really not too far off, and such a great last round charge there.
Evan Smith tied for third with Nicola Castro. Evan it felt like early on it was birdie bogey for him. He parred the first, but then went bogey, rattled off a bunch of birdies, bogey, rattled off a few birdies. He was on pace for a while and just slowed down at the end.
Yeah, that was just such a deflating start for him to watch him go OB on the first hole, OB on the second hole. He almost saved it for the par, but as we were just talking about with this course, it's every par. I mean, a par is fine if you limit them, but bogeys are just so deflating, and they hurt everywhere, but they hurt on a course where everyone else is scoring.
Yeah, it's fifth place, Andrew Marweed, coming out of nowhere, but jumping up 15 spots on that final round, shooting a 13 under to get to fifth place. And that's what we're talking about. You can come from the fourth card and get to the top 3, top 4. It's possible out on this course. Evan Scott, not to be confused with Evan Smith, tied for fifth. along with Gannon Burr. So congratulations. Gannon Burr, it's so funny. Everyone's thinking like, oh God, he's off to such a slow start because he hasn't
Dude, he's washed.
Because he hasn't won one of the first two events.
He's washed.
He's washed. He's totally washed.
Has anyone said that yet?
I'm sure they have, and probably in jest. But
well, you're getting a hot take from me here now, Gannon. You might be washed.
I mean, he doesn't have a win yet.
Yeah. Except for the doubles.
So, and
that he needed a double.
And didn't he win Memorial?
Well, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, but he hasn't got an NT official Elite Series win.
There it is.
So anyway, Greg Barsby, another guy with that forehand flex shot, and just a phenomenal woods player in general. He's got that crazy hyzer putt that just he threw the most beautiful. And it made me think of you for some reason, Terry. This beautiful backhand floater shot into the basket.
Yeah, on
9. And all I sat was like, I literally sat in my chair and said, I've seen Miller do that too many times. Just that nice floaty backhand kind of nose up where it just smash it and just
100-ish feet or so. Yep. That's his bread and butter that he's clearly famous for. It's also one of my favorite shots that used to, back in the day, used to be a one that would be a bonus. Would be a bonus every other round.
Yeah,
maybe.
So you get one every round or two.
I'd find a way. I didn't do it with AVRs like him, though. I do it with a Ontario Rock or a Comet.
Yeah, I know. As well, tied for 5th, Grady Shue, Calvin Heimberg. Both of those guys. I picked Grady Shue. I think he's going to be the comeback player of the year. I said this before this event. At the end of the year, I think we're going to look at Grady's season and be like, he had a mediocre 2024. I think he had one good showing in 2024, maybe 2 on the Elite Series at least. But I think he's going to be a really solid player this year. So Grady Shue. And then Kelvin Heimberg, who was in it until hole 17, pulls out a forehand, which the forehand he had to pull out on 17 is not a high difficulty forehand. You've got a lot of room to play with it off to the left. You just need to make sure to get it inbounds and give yourself a chance. And he sawed it off. And
didn't he go try to go cut the corner with a was that a backhand or a forehand? The first time he tried to cut the corner.
It was a forehand.
It was. Okay.
Yeah. So he threw a forehand, I believe, if I'm correct. Now maybe I'm misremembering this. He threw a forehand off the tee. Hit the tree, I believe, because he sawed it off and kicked it OB. And then, because he had no other chance, if he wanted to win, which is all he cares about, he had to go over the top.
Yeah.
So he took himself back from the OB line, went for a forehand over the top, hit the one single tree that's in the way, fell, and then at that point it was just there was nothing you were doing. It was over. So I don't blame him. He took a 7 on the hole, but he got a 2 on the final hole. Anyway, it dropped him out of contention and into 5th place. That's your top 10, honestly. 11th place, James Conrad, Anthony Barella, Paul McBeth. Paul just couldn't find the C2 bucket. He was outside the circle, it felt like at 35 to 45 feet, a lot, and just wasn't putting any in. And
part of the top.
Part of that is his own fault for not getting closer, to be honest.
I just get closer.
Just get closer, dude.
Make the long putt, just get it closer.
Just get it closer. He just seemed to miss those, and it just felt like he wasn't able to get within striking distance after like hole 8, hole 9. He had to push, and that's what he did on the last. Every time he was out of position, he was pushing and either getting a par or then he would get a bogey. So he just knocked himself out of contention. But it's nice to see that he is there on the final round. He was literally on the lead card final round.
Yeah, and that used to never be a story, and now it is a storyline.
Yep.
The fact that we've seen back-to-back weekends here in 25, where back-to-back events where he's been in contention for the win and on the lead card going into the final round. And it's crazy to think that we make note of that now because it was a given not so many years ago. And
it was a given 2 years ago, and then last year it wasn't, and now this year it is again. It doesn't feel like that long, but yeah, those are your Waco results. Not a lot of extra news from Waco, it felt like, other than a little bit of controversy.
I was going to say that, and then also Jake Mon, Ryan Mon. Ryan coming in with, a 48, 49 during that final round? There he is.
It is Jake Mon. Yeah, not his brother. It's Jake. Yeah, he tied the course record that Paul set at 49. And the course really isn't too much different. Hole 16 has some extra OB now.
Yeah.
And 15 has the OB inside of the poles, I believe, is what they're playing, which Paul didn't have to deal with.
Correct.
So Paul was able, if he wanted to back then, to throw it further, land in the in the side of there and lay up. Not that it makes much difference to these guys, the 80-foot, 90, 100-foot layup versus the 150-foot layup, but maybe I'm wrong because I watched a couple guys, including Adam, just absolutely choke away hole 15 on the easiest shots they could, and I thought that was Adam. Adam was done in my head after 15 when he just took his bread and butter forehand shot, and as we say, sawed it off, let go of it early and high, no wind, and just over that fence. And you're just thinking, like, what are you doing, dude?
Yeah.
Like, how easy. That is such a stock hyzer forehand shot for you, buddy. And he was able to fight back, though.
So, yes, congrats, of course, to Mr. Mon, to Jake, for shooting the 49. You can, again, have the arguments about, was it as impressive? It's still 49. Pars have obviously changed in what would have been then Macbeth's favor at the time. But then there's also a slightly different pressure that goes along with getting through a certain amount of course, knowing that an 18 is lingering or an 18 is even possible. So you could say that there's a different pressure in that sense. But nonetheless, getting all the way through that course in 49 strokes is incredible.
You're right. I honestly think if you think about it, this 49 is probably just a hair more impressive of a score than Macbeth's. But you're right. You can't add that extra pressure because he took a par on hole 9 that Macbeth didn't. So you have to rattle off those birdies. And once you get to like probably 13, 14, and you have a perfect score, that pressure probably becomes immense that he didn't have to face.
Yeah.
But I think I looked at the back. I think the basket on 18 used to be back a little further for Macbeth.
Was it?
I saw a highlight that the tour played, and it looked like it was back just a little further, but maybe the water was just different, and which made it look that way. So, I don't know.
Nonetheless, that
great
was certainly
score.
Another key component, and Jake jumping up 34 spots in that final round with that score, going from 6 under to 21 under to close things out. Yeah, not a lot of other crazy stuff. You see why Saki ultimately struggled on the weekend, and it
was his
dropped
first
6 spots during that final round. He was sitting in 32nd, which is clearly not a spot you'd expect to see him in the first place.
He had a really bad first round, and then came shooting back up second round, but just couldn't keep up the pace.
So, and now everyone heads over another spot at
2 hours away or something. Austin.
What is that math? I'm sure
from Waco to Austin, hour and a half to 2 hours, I think.
Austin, Texas to that sounds roughly right, or is that hour and a half?
Hour and a half, yeah. That's what I thought.
Waco to Austin, just an hour and a half. I've seen lots of social media posts of everyone being able to. Having an hour and a half. There's some people that probably stayed 45 minutes to an hour from the course, just from an Airbnb perspective or something of that nature. So having an hour and a half commute to the next event is definitely something that these guys are going to like in terms of things not being as crazy come Monday or Tuesday. So, and guess what? I bet you they'll be making some practice rounds and some other.
You think? It's
yes.
Probably going to happen.
And I want to be very clear.
This is a 4-round event. It's an Elite Plus.
Okay, yeah.
Starts on Thursday.
I also want to be and we're going to see a new course this year in play. So I should be crystal clear. I'm all about that content. I know I just made a joke, but I'm all about that content. Again, giving plenty of people at home options for what they want to consume in terms of their pre-event content. I'm all about it.
Can we?
No, probably not.
No, I know. I'm going to make a dumb thing. Sparkle Valley.
Sprinkle Valley.
That's what I'm saying. Can we call it Sparkle Valley for the men?
Like
it's Sprinkle Valley for the women. Can we call it Sparkle Valley for the men?
Probably.
I think it'd be more fun. Sprinkle and sparkle. I'm gonna make it a thing.
If you had to randomly, if you had the opportunity to legally and fairly, but quickly, search every single player's bag on the MPO side. Who would be most likely to have sparklers or
sparklers.
any other form of fireworks? And I guess sparklers are pretty low grade firework. I get it.
They are.
But
very low
so
grade.
let's widen this because none of them are going to for sure have sparklers. Who's most likely to have some other kind of?
If you're talking sparklers, it's probably OWN.
No, I'm talking MPO though.
Oh, but MPO,
Yeah,
MPO,
just MPO
fireworks in their bag.
Who would be most likely to be carrying fireworks around in their bag? See, this is the new game. This is the new game.
I need to look at the players to kind of rattle through some of them. I mean, Hamas is an up north boy who loves to hunt. It wouldn't shock me if he had like an M80 in his bag or something. Because you just never know. Always be prepared. He feels like one of those Boy Scouts.
Okay.
The rest. I mean, no.
Orem? Would Orem have any?
Orem. That's probably
maybe some firecrackers.
Orem. I could see Orem with some firecrackers.
Little pack of firecrackers in there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna keep scrolling as well. I'm just trying to think who would be.
Yeah. I think you nailed it with Orem. Maybe Parker Welk, but I could see him having some fun with those.
All right. So again, on the low grade fireworks question, who would be most likely to have the little poppets or little snaps that we threw to the ground, which you could pick up at any, almost anywhere these days. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I got so true story. When I was younger, I was throwing those around, and there was
You blew your finger off.
No, there was a guy with a motorcycle driving by. So I thought it'd be funny if I threw a bunch at his.
Oh yeah.
As he was driving by, I threw him kind of down into the road.
Too.
I was probably 8 or 9, and he literally he threw him, and he literally stopped, came back, and reamed me out.
As he should. Yeah.
As he should. So, who would have that would be Ezra Robinson.
Ah, okay.
Because I could see him throwing those like when Alden's trying to tee or Gavin Babcock. That would be my guess, is Ezra Robinson having those.
Fair enough. On the board, Aaron says Tinkle Valley. I don't think that's right. Bob Goike says Germ would maybe be a candidate for having some fireworks with him. And then Tim says Nico is a firecracker. He was fiery in all the right ways apparently this weekend to go out and shoot those scores. So, yeah. That should be the segment, is us having unique items, and we have to attribute a player each week to who would most likely be carrying or packing or storing or have on backup that particular item. That would be a good question. Poppets, yes. Big Germ would have some. I could see him definitely having some. Like you said, some of the guys having a good time among that Alden, Babcock, Gannon Burr crew. That would make sense too. I don't even know what the problem with that game is. I don't think you could ever include Own, because there's so many things you'd think, yeah, she could probably have one of those along. Yeah. Whatever it is. Fun or serious. It could be just about anything. All right. Any other events that were going on? Sometimes we obviously talk about some of the A tiers, or when we're not seeing players. I think of some of our players that then will veer in the next couple of weeks to other events that might not be Pro Tour. Maybe they don't have an entire season-long Pro Tour card or whatever the case might be. But other things that were going on this weekend, is there any that jumped out for the A tiers that we had?
No pro ones, honestly. It felt like a pretty low key weekend.
Okay, because we had AMs for the St. Patrick's. The pros are playing this upcoming weekend. Throw Down the Mountain was in week 2 of what will be 4 weeks ultimately, and then the Waco annual charity AMs and Olds. Who took down some Pro Masters action?
Oh, you want to see who took down?
I do.
You have a guess? Texas Pro Master.
Texas Pro Master. I don't know if Patrick Brown was in town. He'd probably be paying in the 50 plus. Same with Yeti if he was out there competing. JD Ramirez might be a guy.
No, Tall Paul.
Oh, Paul Oman.
Tall Paul Oman wins the
Nice.
MP40 in that event. Over an FP40, there was only one competitor. It was Amy Michalski.
Okay. Oh, JD Ramirez wins MP50. Okay. Well, then my guess wasn't that crazy.
It wasn't that far off.
Pretty funny.
He thanks you for thinking he's younger.
I think I was thinking he was right on the cusp, but
I thought he was 41.
Yes.
So,
Sure.
and I was going to guess MP50 was Jim Oates. So
60, yeah.
Or MP60, yeah.
So congratulations to all of those guys. Is there? You just spoke of the 4 rounds this weekend, the 2 different courses.
And the men haven't played in
Sprinkle Valley,
Sparkle Valley.
Sparkle Valley, that one either. Is there?
I'm going to confuse everybody.
Dare
on
I
purpose.
say, if we're really getting over sports analytical, is there anything that you've seen in these first 2 events, specifically the Pro Tour events? Some have played more, like you mentioned earlier, Gannon Burr, all the people that went to New Zealand, Ezra racking up all those, second place finishes. But is there anything in the first 2 events on the Pro Tour that point you to yays or nays for this upcoming weekend?
It's hard to say. I don't know what Sparkle Valley has in store for MPO. We've never seen the MPO play it. We saw it on the USWDGC last year, and it was very catered to the FPO. So I don't know if this wooded course is going to be more like the middle section of Waco, or they're going to stretch it out. I'm assuming they're going to stretch it out somewhat, but I'm curious. And then they're going to, what is it, Harvey Pennock?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think they're going to Harvey Pennock, which is just a golf course, right? That's just a big, more wide open golf course where you're going to see some more bomber shots. So it's going to be hard, this being a 4-round event and having 2 different style of courses, one of which we haven't really seen the bomber course yet. There's been nothing like it. SFO is the Supreme Flight Open. So many people equate it with San Francisco, so it's hard to call it the SFO. Sorry, Sean Jack, I know you hate it. But that's not an open it up type of course. Waco isn't an open it up type of course. There's almost no place on Waco you can really unload. There's 1 or 2 maybe power hyzer shots that you want to stand up and go straight, but not many. So I think that this is going to be a unique event from what we've seen so far this year. It would not shock me to see Anthony Barella play very well this weekend. If he's probably going to be my pick to win.
Okay.
And just,
you don't think Gannon is due? Or are you
no,
calling?
He's washed.
You're saying he's washed.
You're saying he's washed, Terry. It wouldn't shock me. I mean, Gannon won this 2 years ago. Antelo won it last year in the dark, right? But we're adding in another type of course. I just think that. I think you're going to see one of the big kids win it. One of the top 5 rated players is going to win this event. One of your staples.
You're going out with some hot takes.
I'm playing chalk this week, which I would not have said at Waco. I don't necessarily would have not probably picked Hamas out of thin air, but that's just. Sure. But I would not have gone out on a limb and said, "Oh, we're definitely going to see one of the top guys win Waco." It's just too. It's too unique of a course. It offers too much birdie bogey, and it's too wide open for everybody. When you throw these giant golf course type courses in, you are kind of restricting. I don't say restricting, but you are
limiting.
You are favoring,
or
honing in on a particular type of player. So I think you're going to see the return to form from some of these top guys that we saw from last year.
Okay. Quick update. Thanks to Webb Warren, one of our favorite Smashies out there, says that the Throwdown the Mountain Weekend 2 that was played this last weekend, that the last round was actually canceled due to weather. I had not heard that. So it looks like they probably just played the 2 rounds instead of 3 out there.
What happens sometimes.
Well, again, thinking back to the weather we had during the Supreme Flight Open and how blessed we were, and unfortunately, it doesn't sound like that was the case for this last weekend over there.
I mean, Waco had a ton of wind. It was really windy up here in Wisconsin. It just felt like all over the country it was pretty windy this past weekend.
Yeah. All right. How about PDGA? Was there any PDGA news or announcements that have been taking place? I know that we saw registration for the United States Women's Disc Golf Championship. I believe that just opened up on Friday night, and I'd like to get an update because UGC, because I know that let me get to there, excuse me. 321 women.
That is a great start.
Including, and I don't know where this ranks just yet. It's going to be obviously way up there. But as of right now, that includes 78 FPO players. You want to guess who's got the lowest PDGA number out of all 78 registered FPO players? That is
registered FPO.
FPO that are playing in FPO. Obviously, there's lower numbers in other divisions.
Yeah, I was going to say you've probably got
Tita
out there.
Number 83 is out there.
Okay. For FPO,
it's almost a trick question. It isn't. It's not.
Does she normally play FPO?
Yes.
Okay. Because I was going to say maybe Sarah Hokum, but
yeah, that's a good guess. It's a good guess. Even though I'm guessing she might be playing FP40. But that would be a good guess. But she is not who I'm thinking of. Lowest PDGA number signed up in FPO.
Could be Paige Shue, who was signed up probably when she was very young. I don't know what her number is compared to some of the others, though.
Paige is, I want to say, in the 30,000. 30,000. She has a really cool number. Isn't it like 33033 or 33133?
I don't know.
Something like that. I don't know. It's what is it when it can?
I don't know. Don't ask me that.
Something that can be read forward and backward.
Palindrome.
Palindrome. Sure. I believe hers is because I think she has a really cool number. I'll confirm in a moment. Anyway, I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
Like you just said about Paige Shue.
Oh, it's probably Rebecca Cox then.
She was signed up probably very young before she was even playing golf.
Is it Rebecca Cox?
No, that would be also a good guess, especially with Mike Lou.
Yeah.
This is a fun game.
I
keep adding games. I just want to keep
new
adding
segments. Add games to John. I don't know.
She has a new sponsor this year.
Not helping.
And her daddy works for the company.
Is it Kona?
Yep.
All right.
Kona's number is 27832. Paige Pierce, 29190. Rebecca Cox, 32917. And Paige Shue, I was off by a digit, is 33833. I think I said 33033. But yeah, hers is read backwards. Yeah, 33833.
Okay.
Anyway, those are your lowest PDGA numbers signed up for. And then I'm going to say, no, Hokum's won't be lower than that.
No.
But now I do want to look. So everybody's got to sit and wait for my game.
This is a great game, Terry.
It is. And Sarah Hokum is currently not signed up for it in any division.
Okay.
Anyway, 321 women.
I think Jen Allen might have been a good guess too.
That would have been, yes. She's in the 15,000s.
Yes, I know. Because I've got her just by like 1,000.
But she is playing FP40.
Yep. And I knew she was playing FP40, which is why I didn't guess her.
Congrats. Jen Allen has
you.
now officially become a grandmother. And Drew Gibson, along with significant other Michaela Allen, have become parents. So
Grandma Jen.
Grandma Gammy?
No, didn't she say she didn't want to be called something like that?
Yeah, we'll have to check the tapes on that. We talked to her about it. But congratulations to the entire family and beyond out there in Arizona. Drew Gibson and Michaela having a baby girl.
It's like 2 days ago, right?
Over the weekend. I believe on Friday, possibly.
Oh, was it Friday? Okay.
Something along those lines. So I think I saw 7 pounds, 4 ounces. The Pro Tour put out a post as well. So congratulations to them. And some of you have also maybe seen a tragedy within the Ulibarri family. Paul's inner circle, I believe Paul's nephew had passed away. So there are some ways you can go out and support, as well as they fight through that time, and nothing but love and hugs and everything else to their entire family. And the disgusting note that adds on to the end of that is that somebody already, I saw a post that somebody had already made a fake Venmo account that's similar to Paul's sister, and then was, trying to then scam money that would otherwise be going to the family by creating a fake Venmo account. So if you go out there, look for Paul's profile page, and then follow probably some links from there to get you to the right place if you want to support them. But that's what hit me, is like, yeah, I suppose in this day and age of us having support networks and having GoFundMes and things of that nature, that there's clearly both AI and trashy humans that are then out there scouring for those things so that they can go find their scam and try and. It's just so disgusting. I just can't imagine. There's a lot of illegal things I certainly can't imagine. I'm not a fan of any of them, but to have a tragedy of just to losing someone, and then somebody else says, you know what, I'm going to go create a similar Venmo or PayPal account and try and scam families out of the money, is just, it's beyond, it's ridiculous. So.
A few PDGA announcements. We'll move on from that. The 2025 PDGA Pro Worlds invite list has been published. So if you're a pro, take a look and see if your name's on there. Get ready to register. Don't be late. And the PDGA is currently hiring software engineers. So they want people to build stuff.
Look at you. You should do that.
No.
Can you put ChatGPT on your resume for that?
That's pretty much what I was going to say. I'm like, if they don't mind me just copy and pasting into ChatGPT, I'm your man. Like, I'm not coming up with anything cool or original, but to heck if I'm not doing that. So they're hiring a front end and a back end engineer. So someone who can do the pretty graphics, and someone who can do the database stuff. And
that's what those mean.
Yeah, database and maybe a little programming.
Okay. I had different thoughts.
I know you did. Ideally, maybe a full stack engineer would be what they're looking for. But no, I would not be a good hire unless they're going to pay me a lot of money.
Yeah, but even then, would you be a good hire?
No, but I would take the job.
I was just going to say, just paying you a lot of money doesn't make you then all of a sudden qualified.
Well, actually, I could hire someone that would do a good job and they wouldn't know it. So if you pay me a lot of money, I'll hire somebody good. And then somehow I just take the cut off the top.
Along those lines, now seems like an appropriate time that I want to give Dave a massive shout out. Many of you that do any type of disc dyeing in your life have probably leaned into Dave and the Disc Dyers Guild. And this is not a paid ad, and nor did he ask me to say this, but you're going to see some stuff that I'm working on video-wise. And Dave, who actually lives near me, has been a huge, he's doing the real work. I won't even sugarcoat it. I don't want to say he's been a huge help. He's been doing the real work to get some stuff accomplished and wrapped up and checked off my to-do list, including a little video that I'll be able to send to people and release for a more thorough and detailed introduction to my disc in a box. And if you listen here, you probably already have heard me talk about it countless times, but there's some people that have no idea what I'm talking about or referencing, and we finally made a very basic video that I think looks really sharp, that Dave completely spearheaded the whole project. So Dave over at Disc Dyers Guild, just an incredible human and a super big help. And obviously, if you have any disc dyeing needs or want to learn how to dye, I think he's running a podcast as we speak, a live weekly or monthly podcast at this very moment. You should leave us and go watch him.
You probably learn more.
You definitely will. I guarantee you that. And then also just starter kits and all these other things. He a ton of supplies, all the information you could ever need to get started. Tell him the disc golf guy sent you. But big shout out and big huge thanks to Dave. And I think he's going to help with a few of the other things that are well overdue that are on my to-do list. So
good for him.
I very much appreciate it. Yes, I'm super stoked.
Some other news that we found scrolling around the internets. Kristen has now officially surpassed Katrina Allen to be the number 2 all-time earner in
FPO earnings.
FPO earnings. She's at $369,000. Kat is at 364,000, so she passed her in one giant leap with this paycheck, and she's behind Paige Pierce by about just about $50,000, 45,000 ish. And odds are, the way Kristen plays, it's not going to be shocking if by the end of the season you see Kristen pass Paige up. If Paige wins like 2 events, I think Kristen it might be tough for Kristen to catch her by this season, but that's assuming Paige wins 2 events, and we haven't seen that from Paige. We have seen it from Kristen, so odds are you're going to see Kristen become the number 1 PDGA money winnings all time by the end of the year. Probably maybe by the end of the summer.
Of course, that just makes me wonder, how does she rank in total of all-time money earnings for MPO or FPO? Where does she place on the overall list? And I bet you I can even find that answer here, possibly within a few seconds.
I'm going 8th.
I'm going to, assuming I can do this correctly. Oh, it's going to be even one click easier than I thought it would be.
Yeah, I'm going to go 8th.
Oh, maybe, or it's not. Oh, here we go. I think I can click on this button, and I can click here. And you're thinking 8th?
Yeah.
Is my search not accurate here, Johnny? Do you see what I'm doing here? Yeah, I don't know why it's only giving me.
Yeah, I think you're just looking at 1 year, maybe. Or not.
Yeah, it might be from last year. She was 3rd last year behind Burr and Wysocki. Kristen was.
I bet you Statmando has that.
Yeah, that's where I'd have to go dig around, and I thought I'd be able to get it quicker and easier on the PDGA site, but good.
Statmando is owned by the PDGA. I would do this, but now I'm not going to bother.
Okay, yeah, something somebody else could look up if you want.
Somebody in our chat room, throw it up there. Figure out where those.
Don't tell us any lies.
Or tell us lies, and we'll just spread them like we know what we're talking about. So,
tell me lies. Tell me sweet little lies.
Probably
artists.
I don't know.
Either do I. That's what I was genuinely asking.
No,
all right, somebody in the chat tell us.
That one I can easily Google. Tell me lies. Tell me sweet little lies. That's gonna be. That's Fleetwood Mac. Oh, wow. Okay. I'm sorry I didn't know that. I probably should have known that.
Okay. All right. Aaron says, I'll be back. E.T. Baker says, longtime listener, first time liver.
Well, thanks for joining the show there, buddy.
Holy cow. We appreciate that. And then somebody says, why does it not surprise me some trashy disc golfer would do that, as in making an account? We don't even know that it's a disc golfer. I mean, you could just be scouring and running some kind of scripts or bots or whatever among Facebook, and anytime you're seeing something about a fundraiser, you have your program set up to then, copy some of the information and then go do the thing. So it may or may not be a golfer related. I can't for sure attribute it to that, but yeah, nonetheless, somebody doing that is a little bit silly. All right, I will tell you guys, pull back the curtain and let you know. I've sent another message to Adam. I'm not sure if he is caught up or is not available. I have sent him another message in hopes that we can still have him, but I am waiting on some kind of a response. I know you weren't paying attention. I'm not sure. Can somebody on here confirm, was he
probably on
maybe
Tour
on
Life.
Tour Life tonight as well? I can't imagine he'd still be on there if he is. But I don't know if he was on Tour Life or not earlier. Or maybe he's out at Top Golf or fishing or out with his significant other. That I'm not sure. All right. Is there anything else that we need to cover? Want to talk about what you just scrolled past?
Oh, well,
briefly,
the commentators.
Yeah, let's briefly touch on it. Obviously,
Sure.
I'm a little bit
biased.
I'm in this circle.
So this weekend, Charlie and JK, they did something that I've been asking on this podcast for people to do for a while, and we saw it over in Europe. They dressed up. They went formal. Jacket, It looks like
suit and tie.
Suit and tie. Charlie kind of changed it up most days. I think first day he was jacket and tie. Then the next day I think he was jacket no tie, and then he was like tie no jacket. But,
I did not.
But that might have been maybe I just saw him when he took off his jacket at one point. But it's they were over in the Studio East, which is in Brian's house.
But
yeah, so they dressed up. They looked very formal. JK is wearing what looks to be some sort of nice blouse or dress, whatever. Either way, she looks wonderful. And Charlie went with the slightly formal,
Well, very full. Yeah. When he's full on,
he doesn't have pants
tie.
On.
Yeah, when he's suit and tie, that's as formal as you get. I mean, the only way you get more formal is tux.
Tux,
right?
That's why.
So that's as formal as you get. And then, like you said, there was maybe some slightly less formal versions throughout the weekend. Suit or tie, or no tie, or no jacket, whatever.
They did this over in Europe. Everyone dressed nice over in Europe for the booth. And I know you're only on camera for all of about 4 minutes when you're in the booth
for the entire day. Yeah,
but I do think it can add some professionalism, and I like it because again, I've been screaming for 2 to 3 years that if I ever got a chance to be in the booth, I would be in a suit.
But
good for them.
Dare I ask? Was there any resounding? There was a preference.
No, I don't think so. I think most people just said, "Hey, it looks really nice." You've got your outliers. They're like, "Oh, it's disc golf. You don't need to dress up." It's whatever. I don't care either way. But I think overall it was well received, and I think more people liked it than didn't.
Okay, you read different places than I did.
Sure.
Only in the sense that I felt like what I read more than not was that it was too much. And I'm not going to make any real judgment. I think they look nice and professional. I understand the arguments, everything from, too formal, too stuffy, just in general, not just them, but too formal and too stuffy, not necessarily our roots or our style. And then the exact opposite of people saying, I absolutely love it. This should be the new standard. I did see the entire spectrum, but maybe just I have a negative feed. It felt as if I read more that didn't care for it than did. It'll be interesting to see if there's any, lack of a better term, formal push to adopt that, and then if somebody does or doesn't, will that also then be reflected poorly on them? Like, let's just say I never go to shirt and tie or suit coat. Not that I couldn't, but I choose to continue to go with a nice looking button up shirt, or others that, stick with polos that are branded DGN. I'll be interested to see if there's any kind of formal push one way or another.
I'm glad, or if I were you, I'd be glad that I'm not following this up, because I think Ian and Philo are next week.
Yeah. And correct. I feel like because you can't win.
Yeah, because if you dress up, then it looks like you're kind of following pace with them,
or copying.
Yeah, and if you don't, then people are gonna be like, well, they look schlubby compared to whatever.
Exactly. I agree. That's part of my whole thing. Is like, I kind of like the idea of just quote unquote staying in my lane, and unless I'm told otherwise, the attire that I have is approved, and not that I'm opposed to changing. I wouldn't be, but I would want somebody to tell me that it needs to be.
Yeah, I don't think, I don't know, but I don't think the Pro Tour is going to be enforcing this by any means. This was a decision they came up to on themselves, I'm fairly certain, and it's just one of those, it's just a style. And I like it. I've been screaming for it for years, that I think it would be fun to bring a little more professionalism to the booth as far as once in a while. I don't necessarily think it should be all the time, but I also think it'd be fun to wear a clown outfit. A big red nose.
That's far more likely my option.
I know. Just giant red shoes that I put up on the table. And
just honk, 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 honk. Just a big old horn.
Yep.
Yeah. We'll see how that goes. It is very different, because if you guys have been around for a hot minute or two, we used to come to the booth 100 times a show because we had to. We didn't have a lot of other things to go to. We didn't have stuff in replay.
2 cameras.
There was all of like 6 disc golf commercials on the planet, and we played all 6 of them all the time. So just out of sheer necessity, because we didn't have a lot of other assets or other things that we even could go to, we had to come back to the booth much more frequently. Now, like you said, it's often to open the show. Rarely, but occasionally there might be a whole 15-ish, like say hi kind of thing, and that's not even scripted. It's just if we need it. That occasionally happens, break. And then you close out the show, and that's it. So it's not nearly as impactful or as frequent as what it used to be. So anyway, I agree. I think they looked good, and they looked really sharp and professional. I'll be interested to see if there's any official formal call or initiative to go continue in that direction, or let the talent.
I'm going cut off sleeves. Just bring the guns out, my friend.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, that's farmer tan and everything, I think.
Oh yeah, well, I think that's a given.
Yeah, I mean, you got let them free.
Like, would you consider like ripping the sleeves off on air out of excitement?
No, probably not. You just never know how.
You just rip the sleeves off that shot. Like I feel like there's a saying in there somewhere.
Sure.
Yeah, that's your signature trademark.
You're getting somewhere now, Miller.
Yeah, ripping the sleeves off of it. Hey, Edwin, hope you're doing well. Hello. Zach says they looked fine, which I totally agree with. Yep. He said, I personally don't care either way what they wear. The matching tie to JK's outfit was nice. Of course. I mean, I don't think anyone's surprised that them putting in that effort resulted in a good look. Because they're both so incredibly professional. So I don't think there's any surprise there.
Fake face tattoos.
What happens when you show up, I forget his name already, but the gentleman who runs the Banana League, and you're just an all yellow suit. Like he wears the yellow top hat, the full yellow suit.
Like you're waiting for Curious George or something?
I mean, it's part of the Banana League shtick.
Well, it's
their branding.
The NBA, and Mo's going to be screaming at this if he's listening. Craig something or other, who always wears like the plaid suit, at least the jacket. It's Craig something or other. I forget his last name. Someone on the
Hodges.
board. No, that's Craig. You're thinking Craig Hodges. That's different. He was a 3-point shooter, Terry.
I know, for the Bulls.
For the Bulls.
Number 14, I think.
It might have been.
The dumbest shit I remember. That sounds about right.
Edwin asked, did he miss Adam? No, Adam didn't. We reached out to Adam a little late, and I don't think he's going to be joining us.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Adam and I did speak, exchange texts yesterday, and he said he'd pop in for a little while. And I'm sure he's been inundated with a ton of requests. I think he was on Staggered Stance at some point as well last night. And no, unfortunately, I haven't heard back from him. I sent him a message that got delayed, and I'm not sure if he's seen it or not. So, truth be told, we may not have him. He's just going to have to win again and come back another night if so.
He could do it. He's going to have to change the number on his jersey. He's got the
3?
The Discraft 3 on there because he has 3. I think that's the reason why he had it on there, 3 Elite Series events. I don't think it was Packer related, even though it's all Packer colors. And
yeah, because his are all Packers and Brewers themed.
Yes.
His various jersey. Obviously, a big Wisconsin sports fanatic. What's the 11 then on AB's jersey?
Oh my gosh, Terry, you don't know that? We literally spoke about this at the memorial. I was walking along.
How am I spacing out on this then?
It is a family number from high school and Little League sports.
I didn't speak about this.
No,
okay.
I thought I talked to you. I thought I talked to you about this.
I've never had this conversation.
I thought we talked about this.
No.
True story. I was walking with the group.
Okay, name dropper. Go on.
And Pete Ulibarri comes strolling up on his bike.
Okay. I
was like, hey, Pete, we kind of had a quick conversation. And AB was in front of us by like 30 feet. This was Saturday because I wasn't there Sunday.
Okay.
And I just asked Pete, I'm like, hey, what's the number 11 for? And Pete had no clue. He's like, oh, I don't know. Maybe I'll go ask one of the family. Because I thought maybe it was a famous Diamondback or something, some baseball. I assumed it was baseball related. And then Pete, sure enough, I wasn't like requesting him to go ask. I would have asked myself, but Pete comes rolling back like 5 minutes later. He's like, oh, it's a family number. It's his dad had that number in like high school, and then one of his brothers or two of his brothers, and then he got it. I don't know if it was high school or little league or middle school, but either way, it's been passed on. So that's the number he took. And I thought I thought you and I had discussed this after that. So
I was too busy being sick that week.
Yeah, you were. So that is why AB does 11. It's a family.
I wonder how many other people know that.
A lot of people now.
Millions.
If not more.
Billions and billions. Huh. Okay.
Yeah,
I have wondered and never thought of it, but I didn't know that was the impetus to
number 11.
To Hamas having 3 though.
That's what I had heard.
So that's what I heard too.
Was the 3 was, and maybe it's coincidence that he just has 3 Elite Series and he had the number 3. Maybe 3 is an old Packer number that he was a fan of or something. Because that does kind of seem odd that maybe now he's got to update it to 4. Like, I don't know if I want to have a number that I have to update.
But that sells more jerseys. That was the angle I was thinking of.
It does.
If that's true. If it's true that it's somehow related to something personal in that sense, in terms of like wins or Elite Series wins, then that's an incentive to another incentive to win, so that you have to get a new number so that your fans, your diehard fans, would go out and get a new updated jersey.
Yeah, so you have the number 3 and the number 4. Collect them all, like Pokemon.
Mm-hmm. So, okay. Well, I don't know if that's a Smashbox exclusive, but Johnny V, as always, on
Coming
the journalistic research note.
Yeah,
that's why they're here.
You learn something.
It's usually not actually smart or insightful,
no,
but you learn something.
You learn something every week.
Something.
And this one is useful. Everybody just pass it off as your own.
Yeah.
Tell anybody that you talk to, if they ask, say, I was talking to Pete Ulibarri.
No, just claim that you talked to
No, you have to claim you got it from Pete.
I would say no, just claim you talked to AB himself.
No, you can't bypass Pete in this. He has to be involved. I don't care who you are.
He gets a commission.
He gets a commission on this.
Some IP commission or something.
And you have to go that way. Because the funny thing is that I was shocked that Pete didn't just know. He had to go ask the family who was walking along on Saturday. It was funny. It just struck me while we were walking, and I thought we talked about it on the show. So I'm glad.
All right. Well, while I'm out there, we're out there sharing a little bit of info. Someone had asked earlier today on the internets and asked about just the cruise, and I know we were just talking about Juliana and Brian and Charlie. They asked about Ian and Philo because we haven't seen them yet this year, although we've only had 2 events. They're very much in the rotation, is how I responded to the Facebook post. They're very much in, and Ian and Philo, I believe, are the first ones that they're doing together. Is going to be Cascade Challenge and then the Northwest Disc Golf Championship, basically the old Beaver State / Glenavere or whatever. Those are the 2 that they're doing together. Those are the first 2 that they're doing together. Ian is in the booth, I believe, with Nate and Val for Champions Cup, so that's where you'll see him as the host at Champions Cup. And then Brian and Charlie are going to be in the booth, I think, for the next 2 events yet.
Wait, they're doing Austin as well?
I believe that's what I saw. So
I didn't think Charlie was doing Austin. But
don't take anything we say as like actual information or knowledge.
We taught you one thing tonight. That is all you get, people. The rest of it is speculation.
I believe, now again, nobody should hold me to this, that this is not what I saw earlier today, or maybe I'm just not smart. So you could be. Oh, maybe I was just dead wrong.
I think okay, because I had heard it was Ian and Philo this weekend.
I see it's Philo, and I see it's Des Redding, and on course is Nate Perkins. I don't know who play-by-play is.
Okay.
I don't know if it's Ian or if it's Charlie.
I don't believe it's Charlie. I think he had said he's out for a few weeks. So.
All right. Well, Charlie is going to be doing play-by-play for the match play event. Music City is going to be Charlie and Brian, along with Sarah Holcomb.
And Dixon on the course.
And, so, okay.
Different.
Well, I'm lost then.
I know. It's not shocking at all.
No. But I'm really confused about
a lot of things in life.
Post this weekend.
Not 90s
it looks like it
Bulls,
is Ian.
But
okay, well, I need to go update that post.
Yeah, you're not confused about 90s Bulls, but you have no clue what's happening next week. So
it's priorities.
I'm glad.
Is now the time for the Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant GOAT conversation?
No.
Okay, good, because I don't want to have it either. I'm kidding. Anyway. All right. Well, then I think with that, if Adam is around and can join us, he's going to have to headline the after show, which isn't the worst thing to do. But I think we can call it on the regular show. We don't need to stretch anything out or drag it on any longer.
Okay.
So with that, we're going to say thank you guys for joining us for the regular show. Hopefully you got a little insight, thanks to Johnny V here tonight, as to some of the recap and some of the things we'll be seeing this upcoming weekend. Except for the commentators, who knows? Looks like Ian and Philo, though. So there's that. Hope you had a good, safe St. Patrick's Day. We didn't cover that, but hopefully everybody did. If you're here taking it all in, that's probably
a good sign that you did.
Exactly. And like I said, we quite possibly will have Adam join us in the after show. But if not, we'll chit-chat about some other things, and maybe it'll be a shorter night, which I think we're all okay with.
Everyone's fine with it. Again, if you want to listen to me talk a lot, Go search out the podcast that I talked about earlier tonight, the HVDGP podcast, which will be out I think later this week. They actually edit their podcasts.
Oh,
so yeah, they don't. They were scared of live, and I told them it's way easier than editing.
That's true. Well, if we hurry up and get done, then I can go out and hopefully download that myself, and then I can listen to you the rest of the night.
If you're lucky, only if you're lucky.
God,
I can talk to you on the way home.
Help
on
me,
your phone.
help me, everyone. All right, with that we appreciate you guys for joining us. This has been SmashBoxx TV podcast 549. We're going to take a really quick break. When we come back, we'll have the after show. Most importantly, we'll give away more free stuff because we know you're here every week for the free stuff. We love our Patreon supporters. For Johnny V, I'm the Disc Golf Guy. See you in the after show. You step inside the SmashBoxx.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the SmashBoxx TV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxx TV podcast 549's After Show.
Holy moly, Terry. Every week when we do the giveaway, I always open up the spreadsheet that the people who don't pay and just sign up on SmashBoxx.tv/weekly giveaways. We have a lot more people this week. We had a lot of people listening, apparently. I always grab the last week's worth of people.
Okay,
Normally there's
I was going to say, there's usually just one or two, and then this last week.
We got 5 people. We got 5 people there that
all
are
trying to dodge the bullet of paying to support us and just want to get in on the free stuff, which we love.
Which we love. It means we have listeners, and that's really what matters. Give us your money.
Don't you want to? I think you missed one. Oh?
No.
Not that I've ever watched you do this before, but
no.
Don't you take the gentleman above that? Oh, no.
Nope, just the last week's worth, Terry, and we already got him in there. So
yeah, well, because he did it.
Yeah,
right on the cusp of.
Yep.
Trying to straddle the weeks.
Yeah, but he's already in there, so
gotcha.
his name is in there.
All right,
Will Marsh, we're talking. Will, you're in there. Don't worry.
Don't you worry.
Don't you worry, Will.
we'll get you in there for the giveaway. Sent out a few more packages last week. Thank you. I think somebody even got doubled up because I owed them from a while back and was waiting on an address, and they moved. So good thing we got it all checked out and ultimately sent out. And I believe there was also, I'm going to make a post maybe tomorrow. There was also a gentleman who supported the cold turkey last November event I run. Both of the awesome dies that he had contributed were won by people that couldn't necessarily throw that product. And I said I would give him the correct props and shout out and recognition because they would go as Smashbox giveaways. So Sid, we appreciate it. You'll see a post probably tomorrow recognizing those two dies, one of which I know arrived, and one of our great Smashies has already thanked us and loves the disc. So we appreciate it. Yeah.
I'm sorting them from Z to A. That's why I had to get rid of the column header because the person name isn't a sporter.
Name.
Name.
Anyway. All right. Zach, yes, we're in the after show. Hope you're doing well. Zach, what's the next big event you're going to be at? That's what I need to know. I mean, after you busted out that in the bag, then I think we need to know where you're going to be so everybody can follow up on that.
Did we do the whole after show thing? I don't know.
Did we do it?
Did we say after show?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we opened with it already.
Okay. Did I miss it? Did I say it?
You said it. You're here for it.
I've been drinking. I don't know.
Haven't we all?
Oh, man.
Okay. Anyway, I don't know that there's a ton going on. Obviously, it's a very quick turnaround.
Yeah, we only have 3 days, really.
We already talked about it in the regular show, just the fact that they have a very short, roughly 90-minute commute. Did you see any of the, I don't want to call them extracurriculars, but people taking in the Waco experience over the weekend?
Just a little Simon. I don't pay attention to too much of I haven't paid too much to the social media this weekend, and I did watch a little bit of Simon video where he was walking along on the bridge, where we get the trophy from, and just kind of, I would say lamenting, but just going over, I think it was the night before the final round, where he was talking about, what's happening and what's going to happen tomorrow. But no, I didn't really see too much of that.
I know there's usually a few posts related to the whole Magnolia with Chip and Joanna Gaines being located right there in Waco. The bridge party / Fly Mart seems to be a big hit. The few posts that I saw, though, looked like it was insanely windy, as you mentioned earlier. It seemed like it was windy throughout pretty much the entire country. But, yeah, I didn't know if there was anything else that jumped out. I did see, is Oakley heading up more ace run / clinic challenges is what I think that I
believe
saw.
so. I think he's taking on more extracurriculars off the course in order to help probably make ends meet a little bit better when you're on tour, because he's been playing better this season so far, but he's not the one of the top finishers. He's still kind of middling in the cash.
Okay. Tim is out there. Speaking of events, obviously it's been great to run into people, to connect with people. So many of our players have consistent places that they now stay when they go from state to state or event to event, people that they maybe have been staying with for a few years. Tim said that in terms of Idlewild, where I know I've had some conversations with him out there, and he volunteers, he says I'll probably be on hole 16 again. My question to you, Tim, is, do you volunteer for that specific hole? Are you picking a hole at that point, or is that just assumed that's where you're going to go? Because
if you've been there, if you've volunteered a few times, maybe you get priority as to where you want to go.
And I'm not going to say that's the last hole that I would pick, but it would be far from the first hole that I would choose. If I showed up as like a 3 or 4 or 10-year veteran of volunteering and they said, "Hey, Tim, thanks again for being here. You're one of our most dedicated and loyal spotters, volunteers, helpers. Where do you want to be?" 16 is not where I would pick, only because it is often in the hottest of hot,
you're out in the
baking sun on top of that hill. So I need to know. Okay, well, there, you've just answered it. I didn't even finish the question.
He picks it because he likes the sun. Good. I would probably pick 17, the island on 17.
Okay.
Just because it's shaded.
And there's a lot of excitement.
There's a lot of excitement. So
is there always a spotter? Yeah, I feel like they may even have 2 spotters on that hole.
They might, yeah.
From earlier on the hole and then near the
But
basket.
I would probably pick something like 17.
17. You wouldn't pick 13, which is the 13 or 14, the tunnel
what?
shot that goes all the way down and then to the left. That must be, yeah, that's 13 because then 14 plays, 15 plays up the hill. So it's 14. And I just think of like, there could be a shot that happens 200 feet earlier or 200 feet later, and then you're just running up and down the hill the whole time trying to find it. Yeah,
nope.
That wouldn't be one. It is all wooded and shaded, but I don't know.
Yeah, Tim says it's a lot less pressure on 16 as well because like you don't have to be extremely accurate.
True.
You know, if it goes out of bounds and you're off by 5 to 6 feet, no one cares.
Well, or the fact that you're never going to, like, if you can't see the disc, oh, it's out of bounds, like, because it's in the high grass, right? You're like, where did that go? I don't see it. Okay, red flag. Like, you know pretty much instantly if it's out of bounds or not. It's not quite that simple, I know, Tim, but yeah, that's where I could see that there's probably a little less
Don't demean him
pressure.
in his job.
I'm not, but
you're such a jerk.
Maybe a little less judgment call over there is what I'm trying to say. I think that would be a good way to word it.
You, this past weekend, went to a small tournament. Is that right? I got a call on Friday from you asking if I was interested in joining you, and unfortunately, I already had plans on Saturday, but I was not able to go to Indiana and play in whatever little C tier you were doing. So
yeah, like I did a few years ago. There is a series, and I apologize, I don't know every detail, but there's essentially a series that takes place for a couple months out of the year in Indiana. It's called WIFs, which is Wintry Indiana Frozen Frisbee something or other, something of that nature. And more importantly, though, there's always a charity component that's locked into this series. So they have charitable organizations that they partner with. And so some of the money that's raised for these already very reasonably priced events, some of the money that's raised then always gets contributed. And whether that's an ACE fund that's not hit or directly some of the entry fee or a place where you can donate online right when you're registering. There's a lot of different ways that money can ultimately get filtered over to these organizations. And it's something that's been going on for years. I don't know how many years, but I know I went to a couple of the events a few years ago in different locations. And nothing for nothing, it's one of my favorite things to do is to show up to a course I've never played that hopefully isn't overly difficult and just take it all in like we used to 30 years ago, right? Just there's a nostalgia about taking a little bit of a trip. Granted, it was like 5.5 hours, but taking a little bit of a trip to show up at a course. I didn't get there until about 2 or 3 a.m. on Friday night. It didn't help I had the 1 hour time zone loss going into Indiana, but ultimately shut down at like 2 or 3. They had a nice late start, which is something I'm going to be copying here in a few weeks when I host an event. Just a super nice late start. They didn't have a huge turnout. And the course was exceptionally short, which I didn't know. I knew it was, I was told it wasn't long, but it was exceptionally short.
Sounds like fun.
And I'm never going to complain about it.
No, I was going to say, that's what I'm saying. It sounds like a lot of fun.
Never, ever. It was 19 holes, and I guess it got a redesign about maybe 10-ish years ago in one of the western, I'm going to call it western suburbs of Indianapolis. And short and very straightforward. Also unique in the sense that...
Did you call our friend Jake who lives in that area?
No, I did not. I did reach out to another friend of ours, but also really unique in the sense that you play basically the first hole hole number 1. And then you go out into the just wide open where there's like only a couple
Just like
trees.
it's field golf?
It is for then 7 or 8 of the holes. And then you go straight back into the woods.
Okay.
So it's got that nice mixture. I mean, it's just like the Beast, really.
I mean, it's more or less the same.
Yeah, exactly. Except for this is like 4,700 feet instead of 8 or 9,000. So the problem is, and you touched on it earlier, the entire effing country felt like it was windy on Saturday.
It was very windy.
There were countless times where all you're doing is playing for a par, and all you're thinking is, can I get this 150-foot approach somewhere within 5 feet of the basket? Because anything outside of 5 feet
Is
was
not a give me.
very, very difficult. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. The turnout wasn't all too grand, so to speak, but money was raised, and it went really well. I had in practice, I was able to play about 4 holes in the morning. I was like, okay, let's go see what this is like. Played a couple of the holes. Go to hole 1. It's this tiny little, not tiny, 200-foot tunnel shot. OB on the right, which is a road, but a ton of trees. OB on the left, which is a path or the sidewalk with some trees. I threw like 6 discs all within 20 feet. Like, sweet, this is great. I love this course already. Here's hole 1, right? This is practice. Then find out how open it is and whatever else. That's all fine and dandy. First throw of the tournament.
First available.
Start on hole 1. Yank it. Hits straight out of bounds by 100 feet. I'm just like, on a course where
This is your bread and butter.
not just that, but it's just so any mistake. Now I did learn any mistake on hole 1 is easy to go out of bounds. But the very first shot, I pull it. It was a bad shot. I pull it and then it just kicks straight out of bounds. So then I re-teed. Like I hit a tree 50 feet down the fairway. And then it kicked out of bounds. It is so wooded along that right side
that you can't get out of it.
That I'm not sure I could have. I didn't even go look at it. I'm like, I had to think about this is the first hole of the tournament.
Wow.
Like,
Decisions.
Oh, gosh, somebody get the bus. The wheels just fell off and I didn't even get on it yet. And I re-teed. I threw it down to within 15 or 20 feet and then made the putt for the 4. But opened.
Good 4 save?
Yeah, it was a good 4 save. Yeah, I opened
200
officially with the bogey. It was very frustrating. And the thing is, the morning round was actually considerably calmer at that time. We played from 10 to noon, I want to say. It was a very quick round for the 19 holes. It was very calm. Went to lunch, came back, and it was like someone just literally flipped a switch. It's like, okay, cool. Now we've got 30-mile-an-hour winds. Yeah, that was.
And how did you finish? What division and how did you finish?
So I played MP40. There was the thought that a couple of the MA40 gentlemen would maybe also play MA40, and then the tournament director, Jason, signed up and played MA40 as well. You've seen Jason at some Ledgestone stuff. He helps with a ton of stuff. So none of the MA, because it was a point series that was rounding out.
So they didn't want to.
None of them, unfortunately, wanted to play with us. And so then it was just Jason and I. First round, I think I had 2 or 3 bogeys, and I shot a pretty bad 3 under. 3 under? I don't remember. I think it was 3 under. I think I had Jason by 2. Shot a 3 under first round. Second round, when the wind was 100 times worse, I parred the first 8 holes. Some of those pars were phenomenal, like world-class pars. They truly were. And then I ended up birdieing 8 out of the last 11.
Wow, you went on a run in the woods.
And went on a run in the woods and then pulled out the victory that way. So, 3 under and then an 8 under. So I think I finished 11 under, which you would want to shoot on any other calm day. If you're not shooting 11 under in a single round, you're not doing well out there. Anyone would attest to that. There's no doubt about it. But the second round win was insane. And so managed to take it down.
Keep your win streak alive. I don't know if you have
No, now it's at 1 because I didn't win in Thailand. My first round was a 3 under. and rated 919. My second round bogey-free 8-under was rated 990, which just tells like the wind was
how bad it was compared to.
I was the only competitor out there to go bogey-free in the second round, which to me, like that was a little bit of a victory in itself, was to go bogey-free just because of the insane wind that was out there. So lots of fun. Brought some discs along. Some people were really kind and gracious and supported, and then bought some of the discs that I brought. I was able to talk with at least 10 or 15 people I've never met before. I did get a lot of what in the F are you doing here in central Indiana? And I'm like, this is like the bread and butter of what I consider fun on my quote unquote off weekends, is to show up to an event like that, especially on a relatively short course. Like that's what's fun to me. If somebody said, hey, you want to go play toboggan for fun? I'd be like, no, piss off.
No,
that doesn't sound like fun to me. Just because I don't have those skill sets that make it nearly as fun. So it's a great course. It's just wouldn't be one that I would get excited about playing.
Nope.
That's why I watch the pros play it. The really good ones, that is. So
yeah, and I just sit back and say, I could do that. Jeez.
Yeah, exactly. How'd they screw that up? Like, give me 9 chances and I'd make it once.
Maybe. Depends how far it is.
Yeah, exactly. Zach says, I've played whiffs. Yes. Again, awesome series. I love that I don't know how many years they've been doing it. I know I went 3 or 4-ish, 2, 3, 4 years ago, in exact same philosophy. I like being able just to show up, meet a whole bunch of new local players, new to me, and have some goods and merchandise that some people wanted, and then just play a totally new course, none of which I've ever seen before. So what town and course? I stayed in Glendover, and it was just north of that by 10 minutes in, oh my gosh, I can't believe I can't, I'll find it for you.
Okay. This is where we watch Terry figure out
do some Googling. Yeah, where was Terry this weekend? I could remember if I was in another country, but not necessarily. I was in Greencastle, Indiana. Jason Reese, as I said, was the tournament director, but yeah, I was in Greencastle for the course. Oh, and there was a gentleman who beat me, score-wise. A quarter of my age. He's like 12, 13. Yeah,
the wind didn't blow him away.
No, and he's about that size. Playing in MA1, Ezra Beachy shot 15 under on the day, which was rated 966 and 990. We matched on the final round. He also shot an 8 under on that second round. He had a bogey or two. Psh. Take that 12-year-old.
Yeah. Rub it in his face, Terry.
But no, he whooped my score first round though. Yeah, he shot a 7 and then an 8 to have the best score out of all competitors at the event. With his 916 rating, showed up and shot 966 and 990. So that was pretty cool as well. His brother has performed well, and we're going to continue to see them at Junior and Am Worlds for years to come. So I got a photo with him because in 5 or 10 years, we'll be talking about him.
Yeah,
on the pro tour, and I can say this kid whooped me.
Yep. Here's what will happen. He'll probably be on like the 5th or 8th card. You'll have a great putt that we'll get on camera. Mo will go to this kid and be like, "Hey, this is Zach, so and so," and Terry be like, "Yeah, I played with Zach back in 2025.
I met Ezra, yeah,
and his brother." And Terry will have like a 3-minute story about him that'll go off, and in general, everybody else in the booth will be like, "What the heck?" And Terry will just be like, "Yeah, that's just how I roll."
Yeah, that's what I was doing at Whiffs in Indiana in 2025. Yeah. So yes, those, to your point, that also feeds into, I think, the bigger picture of my commentary life and lifestyle, and meeting the young superstars or pros that of locally, but we didn't see and hear yet. So when I get a chance to actually meet some of these people and interact with them, and then, like Johnny just said, see them on the tour in 2 or 3 or 5 years or next week, whatever it is. I mean, I still have to that day. We have a similar story about Adam Hammis, just watching him grow up playing in tournaments I ran in Wisconsin to, watch him kind of move through the ranks to now become, an Elite Series winner. So, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Darren Eck on the board says he almost got his first MPO win this Sunday, but he lost in a playoff.
Oh, how many holes in, Darren?
Did you lose on the first playoff hole?
Hmm.
Did you choke on the playoffs? Or did he shoot the other guy shoot a phenomenal shot? Let's tell it that way. Like, he's nothing I could have done, man. He aced the first playoff hole.
I did. I was ecstatic. First round when I went on this really embarrassing par streak to close out the wooded section of the course. Couldn't throw anything very good. Second round, I had paid into the fundraiser CTP action, and we were the third to last group to go through, and I put it to like less than a foot. It was less than a foot. I'm like, that should lock it up, and only 2 more groups had to come through. It's kind of unique. You and I grew up in Wisconsin golf in that you didn't pay for CTPs.
No,
they were just something that was usually donated or given.
Later, we kind of
then it became more common, because we saw that in Indy. In Illinois specifically, a lot is CTPs closest to the pins became an optional thing, and then you could pay into them, and sometimes they're cash, sometimes they're prizes, oftentimes they're cash, or you're splitting cash. That was never common in Wisconsin for many, many years. It was, if there was a CTP, it might be limited to which division it's eligible
Usually
for.
Every division got one or something.
Yeah, but there were always something that was free, and I always feel like somehow there's usually a fundraising component to it. So I throw in on it, and then I was ecstatic to actually win the CTP.
That's great.
In that round.
And Darren clarifies it went 2 holes. The playoff. So,
well, you did something to push the first hole.
Yeah.
Now,
or maybe the other guy did. I mean, the first hole. He shot a hot first round. I'm sorry, I shot a hot round, second round to tie it, but Chris Villa got his 97th win. It's hard. I've heard Chris before. I've heard Chris's name quite a bit before. That's tough. It's tough to beat an established player like that, especially going.
You're saying
your
Darren's
first
not? What are you talking about?
I mean, 97 wins. He doesn't have one apparently. So yes, so Chris is an established player. We love Darren, but Chris isn't on our board right now.
That's true.
So I'm rooting for Darren.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Next time, Darren, you'll get him.
Speaking of rooting for what's his typical title? Committee chair of recreate or of hospitality. I don't know. We always give him a different name. Tom McManus, who's a famous Smashy here, celebrated a birthday in the last couple of days. So happy birthday to Tom. I'm sure wherever he is, he's got a big smile for you. So
probably.
Wanted to get that in there. Tom may or may not be listening, but happy birthday again to you, buddy.
2 days. My birthday.
I know.
March 20th. Is it the first day of spring this year? Yeah, most of the time it is. It flips 20th and 21st. I never keep track of what spring is. And then what? Then I'm another day older. And after that, I'm another day older. This is how it works, Tara.
It's kind of basic.
It kind of is. I'm a basic bitch.
Yeah. So 47.
Is that what I'm going to be? I literally couldn't remember the other day. I was like, am I 46?
Yeah, we were born in we were both born in 78.
Yeah.
So in 25, that means 47.
47 years old.
How does that sound?
It sounds old. I'm not going to lie.
It kind of does.
Like, it sounds old. I don't feel old. I feel like I'm still, I'm going out every once in a while, having drinks and things like that. I don't feel old. But yeah, if you told me I'm closer to 50,
than any other
major milestone, that does sound old. But 50 is like the new 20.
No. Unless you're like dating Michael Douglas maybe or something. I don't know. Yeah. I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, Bill Belichick. Or then Bill Belichick.
Bill Belichick. Yeah, he might have that line.
Okay.
I'm not sure that applies to you.
I don't think my wife would like that either. if I was dating a much younger woman.
It depends on how much younger before she'd have a problem.
I think almost any.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough.
That's just how it goes.
All right, so 47.
Yep.
The one thing that doesn't do, and I recognize this because I filled out a survey just yesterday for something, is it always hits different when you officially are filling out demographic surveys, and then you're like 35 to 44 or 45 and up or wherever.
Different checkbox.
Yeah, they're all slightly different. Where they break down, and then when you're like, oh man, I'm in the next checkbox, I'm in the next drop down, like I gotta scroll to like 45 and above or 45 to 55 or whatever that number is. That always feels a little bit different.
Yeah, I don't have much more to say than that. I don't need.
All right, I'm going to read off the board where Zach says, got to shout out a DG nonprofit here in Indiana, Accelerate Disc Golf. We donate DG disc golf equipment to local schools for them to use in their PE programs, and a school we donated to just put in a course. That sounds awesome. Certainly, congrats. That is very cool.
We've got a few schools in the area that have a couple holes on campus. So there's University School just up the road from here. They've got, I think, 9 holes, all pretty much wide open. But we go there for Miracle League baseball, and it's right around the baseball diamonds.
Wait, what's the name of
it's University School? It's a high school, middle school.
I think I sold them those baskets.
You might have. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's been in for a while.
Just west of here a little bit.
Just west of here a little ways.
Yeah, I think I sold them those baskets like 10-ish
Don't dox
years
from
ago.
my houses, dude. Yeah. I mean, they're there. We walk past them every time we see them.
Tim was the gentleman that I worked with. I don't remember his last name, but
So
the athletic director or whomever at the time, his name was Tim. I do remember that specifically.
they were actually
It's
looking.
got to be more than 10 years ago too.
Oh yeah, could be. I don't know. It's a very, very wealthy school.
Yeah, it's like a high end. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, you're talking like college costs to go to that high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if the name didn't ring a bell, or maybe it was called something slightly different back then. Like a slight variation of that. But anyway, I'm pretty sure I sold them the baskets, talked to them about the design, and they were like, yeah, we got it. I was like,
I mean,
okay.
I've never walked the course. It looks fine. There's only one basket where I think I'm like, I look at it when I walk past it and I go, maybe not the most ideal place to put this, considering you're throwing it probably not towards the baseball diamond, but kind of towards the people at the diamond. So, but other than that, I've only really kind of wandered it. And whenever we walk past it, my daughter's like, Dad, baskets. I'm like, I know. And I haven't even played it. So,
yeah, I don't even know if I ever got around to putting that one on my resume, for crying out loud,
Oh,
being involved with it. So I better update that.
Yes, you definitely should.
What should I add next to my resume in disc golf?
Disc golf.
I mean, any other resume I don't know will be useful to me at this point. I'm kind of a one-trick pony. I'm not valuable to in many other ways.
Not so much.
And even this is questionable some days.
I'm trying to think, like, because you've been state coordinator, you've running a major, maybe. I mean, you had Am Worlds.
Yeah, we watched Macbeth lose.
I know.
Now I'm tainted forever. 2007 Am Worlds was held here in Milwaukee area.
I mean, you've never run an Elite Series event.
No, I ran A tiers, a number of A tiers, but never like an NT /
Although I don't know if you could, just based on like you would have to probably run an event for a few years on a good course. It would take a few years, but I mean, you could try. You could,
I have no interest in that.
I know you don't,
but yeah, that could be.
I mean, you could join some sort of a PDGA board, a volunteer position. Like I was part of the disciplinary committee at one point.
That's a good idea.
You could do something like that, Terry. Murderer.
Murder of birdies. What I usually don't do. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Huh.
Do I put it on my resume that I probably mooned more top pros than anybody in the world?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Only if you have proof for everyone that's out there.
Before cell phone cameras, my friend.
Things were different.
Things were different back then. It was still not acceptable, but
no.
Fun things happen.
Tim, bus driver. I don't think I've ever really. I have never really done the shuttle service at like a USDGC. Although I think I would love that to do that for like a day, because there's always those shuttles running back and forth that are needed all over at the USDGC. Being on the bus going back and forth when you're out at Smugs is kind of a special, unique thing. Again, I was just a rider, not a driver. But I remember the Worlds there a couple of years ago, and the way Matty O wanted to stay on. He wanted to stay on the bus to hear. We had to go from the main lodging area over to the course, and this is like day 4 or 5 of Worlds. We're like getting near the end of the World Championship. We're taking the bus over, and at that point, for whatever reason, there was only like 3 or 4 of us on the bus going over there, probably early afternoon. Let's just say tee-off's at 3:30, so that maybe this was like at 1:30, something like that. And Matty O wouldn't get off the bus until the song finished.
Do you remember what song it was?
I know, that's what I'm racking my brain with.
It wasn't like the Wheels on the Bus, was
no,
it?
It was something like 80s hair band-ish.
Of course.
Like something like a Pour Some Sugar on Me. I think I talked about it in the broadcast, actually.
I think you did, because I vaguely remember that.
So I'd have to go back and find find where I maybe did a check-in and discussed what was going on. But Matty O didn't want to get off the bus until he heard the end of that song. It could have been Living on a Prayer by Bon Jovi. It was something of that nature. And Matty O was fully into it. So that's one of my better bus stories from our top pros. And of course it includes Matty O. I mean, that's
most of the best stories involve Matty O.
I was
in
just
general.
Gonna say, yeah, that's quite possible. All right. Does anybody have any questions for us? We see a ton of our regulars. We thank you guys so much. Johnny has
I've got the names.
Patreon.
I've got the random.org sitting up here.
All lined up to go. And if we don't have much else, Adam just got back to me a little bit ago and said he's sorry. He's got some stuff going on now and will not be joining us. He said, obviously, it's been a crazy week, which is kind of what I prefaced the original conversation with him originally. I'm glad I had his actual cell phone number so I could bypass the 1,000 DMs that probably came in on Instagram.
True.
But like I said, we'll have to catch up with him another time. Understandable.
Patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. You can be eligible for our giveaway if you give us money, as little as $1 a month. Not only do you get access to all of the podcasts ad-free, but you can also, for different dollar amounts, get upgraded. During the podcast that I was on yesterday, one of the guys is like, "Hey, you know that shot you showed before you guys start with all the minis?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Our local club is on there." And I turned around and looked at him, and he's like, "Yeah, it's near the bottom row. It's the New York one, the disc cap." Like,
Sweet.
That's their local club. And so we briefly mentioned that. And I was like, well, thanks. We truly do appreciate it. So at $3, we will get you a yearly disc. At $5, we'll get you the mini, which we'll put on the wall there, and then I'll have to update the picture of the minis. So again, patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. We can only thank you so much. But we'll keep trying. Keep trying.
Yes.
Keep trying.
Also, this weekend, another highlight, connecting with Barry, who is a Patreon subscriber and supporter of ours as well, and has been for many years. So thank you, Barry. It's good to chat with you.
We have 110 people eligible for our giveaway. Once again, I said there was quite a few on the free service at smashbox.tv/weekly giveaways. If you're on there, make sure you do your email address, please, as well. I'll double check the form. It's been a long time since I looked at it, but I just want to make sure that we collect that so it's easy to get a hold of you. I know it does ask for your address, but we always want to confirm addresses. So, Terry, what number should we draw? That one number. If you want to tell us the number again, that'd be great. But how many numbers should we generate?
I mean, Adam had number 3 on his jersey. So 3.
All right. I thought you were maybe going to throw 4 at me, but
it's got to get updated. But until that 4 comes out.
Okay. So our very first number is 19. Our second number is 31. Remember, I sorted them by first name, reverse order. And our third and final number is 89.
Ooh, I was going to guess 91.
89. 89. So I just have to scroll up just a little bit because I'm already at the bottom. 89 is Chris Neal. Congratulations, Chris Neal. Thank you for being a Patreon supporter, Chris Neal.
Yeah, and I do not see your address in there. I'll have to send you an email to confirm what your mailing address is. But thank you very much, Chris, for the support. Getting in on the action. We appreciate it.
He's one of like 4 or 5 Chris's that we have. But he's the winner.
There can only be one tonight for now.
I was going to go with a Highlander reference, but you wouldn't get it, so don't
Nope,
worry.
I wouldn't. Well, I don't know why you're talking about cars.
You know?
Toyota, Toyota or a Honda? Toyota Highlander.
Yeah, that was one of the.
Yes, is it a disc?
No,
Oh.
it was. So the way the game works is that he has 3 categories with like 5 or 6 questions, and so you pick a category, like just 1, 2, or 3. The further you get along, you realize usually there's like a theme to the categories. One of the themes was Chevy vehicles.
Okay.
You know, like
Mm-hmm.
the one we got was like Silverado. Is that a disc? No, but there's a few that are. So,
Yeah, I think we should quit our podcast and just go listen to theirs.
I will say
They have their shit together.
They do. Pat does a great job hosting that. And again, I want to thank Randy for carrying me on that quiz.
That sounds reasonable. I appreciate that. All right. Well, Chris, I'll be shooting you an email. If somehow you were told at one point you've won something and you haven't received it, do not hesitate to shoot me a message on either Facebook or Instagram or my email, terry@prodiscgolfer.com. Whatever the case might be, I'm not offended. If you feel like you have to follow up and remind me, I won't be offended by the reminder, is what I'm saying.
I send him like a weekly email.
We want to make sure that
you
you get your stuff, and we're super happy to make it happen. Best of luck to everyone in Austin this weekend who will be competing, spectating, spotting, volunteering.
What are you doing this
hosting
weekend?
it? I got some stuff up the sleeve.
Okay.
I got some stuff. You might just see me at if your course is sub 5,000 feet. I could just possibly.
And you're
show
within
up there.
7 hours of Wisconsin. Terry just might show up.
Anything is possible. With that, we're going to call it. We thank you guys for joining us tonight. We appreciate Adam ultimately giving us an update that he's not going to be with us tonight. But we are also very blessed that we know there's a couple other podcasts that do a great job that probably got some good info. Edwin, I appreciate. I think it was you that said, yes, I know he's been on other shows, but you guys always ask different questions. I'll take that as a compliment. I know ours sometimes go a little off the rails, but
that's what we're here for.
We're intentionally trying to pick at different things. So we'll just have to find another time to catch up with Adam. There's a chance that's not going to be his last win of the year. We know he's got more in him and is more than capable. So thank you for joining us. Be safe. Have a great week. Enjoy coverage this weekend if you're taking it all in.
4 days.
Spring
Starts
break.
Thursday.
Send Johnny a big birthday hug and kiss on the 20th. He's going to need it, this old man.
Yeah.
47.
Shut up. You're 46. You're not that far behind me.
But I was adopted. All right, everyone. Have a good
No
night.
one
We'll
wanted
see you
you.
next week on SmashBoxx TV. Bye.